Todd, good to catch up again. Slightly chilly Christchurch evening that we decided would do this outside, but this is one of the newer sites that's opened up. So how long's this been open? And it can't be the only one in Christchurch.
No, well, it's great to be here, Mo, in the cold here in Christchurch, sitting in a warehouse full of cars. So we're here in Hornby. So this is our second newest actually branch in Christchurch. We opened a new one today in the city. So we've been open here for just on a month actually. So part of a branch expansion plan that we've had here in Christchurch, moving from the one branch that we've had for over 20 years in the centre of Christchurch to 3 different branches distributed through the city. So yeah, it's very exciting times here in Christchurch.
And how big is that network now? So it's 2 or 3 here versus the one you had before. And you're doing a bit of that around the country as well, aren't you?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we've so if you take our total branch network, we're about 37 branches. So that includes our commercial business. So that's trucks and machinery and our damaged and end of life vehicle branches as well. Car branches we're up to 21, and yeah, we've grown that. If I sort of think back about 10 years ago when we kind of started on this retail transition from wholesale auction, we've pretty much doubled the size of our branch network.
Yeah, right. And has much changed in terms of those sites? Obviously, nice shiny new building here and a great spot.
Yeah.
But in terms of size of the footprint somewhere or locations, in terms of you're trying to be closer to arterial routes, what's different now?
Yeah, certainly we're trying to be closer to where people live. There's a definite correlation between proximity to where people live and their ability to come in here, and particularly on the sourcing side of our business. Like I think more about our branch network now being far more important strategically for our sourcing of cars and selling cars.
Right.
It's interesting, like people will go to the other end of the country to buy the right car at the right price.
Yeah.
But when they're selling a car, they want to go 3Ks or 5Ks down the road because it's a convenience play.
Yeah.
And in a used car business like this, your single biggest competitive advantage is how you source cars. So, access to people and opportunities to buy people's cars is very much what this business is about.
Yeah, right.
Probably been the single biggest change in the last sort of 4 or 5 years, actually.
Yeah. And that 21 of the specific car sites that you've got, where's the end game for that? Is it 25? Is it 28? Is it 30?
Yeah, I mean, certainly 30. I mean, if you look at the opportunities that we've got on the go at the moment, that takes us towards that number. I think there's still opportunities beyond that, though. I mean, I think we've genuinely got another 5 to 7 years at least of rolling out new branches.
And is it just down to, is it a bit of an art to find that next great location? Or is there some, obviously there must be some science, but are you able to track how many cars are in a certain area or how many transactions are happening? How are you doing that?
Yeah, we do. We're pretty picky now about the sites that we choose. And that can have some lumpiness to it, as you'd kind of imagine it would. But ideally we want to be on a main arterial route. We're close to a kind of population base. We're looking for something between 7 and 10,000 square meters. We're ideally putting a small building on a big kind of lump of tar seal.
Yeah.
This place here in Hornby is a little unusual in that we've got quite a bit of undercover storage here. I mean, it's great for Christchurch because of the winter and the conditions and things. But generally we're storing cars outside now, whereas, in the old auction model, we would have had a massive warehouse. Cars would have been moving in and out of that warehouse like the tides every single day, and lots of kind of movements of cars, which is obviously very expensive.
Sure.
So, with a much sort of stronger retail focus now, we're looking to park cars, present them, help people through that process and get a good outcome for them.
Yeah. And I guess if you think about the guts of what you're doing, buying and selling cars, and for people to come and buy or sell a car off you, it's quite a personal process.
Yes.
And it's, you've got to have the right people in your business to sort of enable that. So, and you talk about the 21 sites for cars alone. How do you get, your team and your group of people enthusiastic and sort of pulling in the same direction to get that right experience?
Yeah, I would say, if you look at our business over the last decade, it's been, an incredible growth story.
Yeah.
And, the single most important thing about that is the people working in this business. I mean, there are really kind of 3 groups of people that we talk about, and it's providing a great experience for the people who work in this business.
Yeah.
we provide them a great experience, they're more likely to provide a great experience for our customers and kind of give that discretionary effort that makes a difference to people who choose to spend their money here.
Yeah.
And the combination of a great employee experience plus a great customer experience should lead to a great shareholder experience. And to be honest, we focus absolutely on the employees or the team members here and our customers. The shareholder experience, we talk about it, but we really focus hard on those two.
And you're a listed company, so have you got staff that are shareholders? Have you got that engagement of them feeling like they own a part of the business as well?
Yeah, we do. So we measure our engagement 3 times a year, and we have global leading scores in employee engagement.
Right.
And over the last 3 years, we've run an employee share scheme. So we now have over 53% of our team owning shares in the company.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, which I think is an amazing thing. It's such a powerful combination.
Yeah.
To have that high engagement plus, but the ownership mindset. The two of those things are a very powerful combination.
Yeah.
And we can measure employee engagement now by people who are in the employee share scheme and who aren't. And yes, we have high engagement across the board, but the people who are enrolled in the employee share scheme are that much higher again.
Yeah.
And my hope is that we end up with 80% of the team here enrolled in one of those schemes.
Yeah, that's good.
It's just such a great way of them having some skin in the game, building up a little nest egg of wealth for them, and just sharing in some of the rewards, I think, really. Yeah.
And on those results, you recently published your latest set of financials, and very good ones. Don't want to get too much into the numbers, but I think it was the 5th consecutive record profit that Turners has reported. What's the secret sauce, because the economy's not exactly firing on all cylinders.
No.
It definitely hasn't been for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
But you've managed to rip out another strong result year on year on year. So
I mean, it's never one thing, is it? It's a bunch of things. I mean, clearly having a highly engaged team of people here is a massive contributor to that. Yeah, I think we've got a very sort of simple strategy that we're executing on, and we've been very consistent around that as well. And consistency of people who work in this business. Like if I look across our kind of senior leadership team and even branch managers in these places, a very loyal and long-serving group of people.
Yeah.
And the strategy is just, I think really simple, right? We kind of want to be in more places. We're effectively being rolling out a supermarket strategy for used cars.
Right.
In our finance business, we're trying to grow our finance book and premium lending.
Sure.
And in insurance, we're trying to sell as many mechanical breakdown insurance policies to people who buy cars to kind of protect themselves, give them the health insurance for their car.
Peace of mind.
Yeah, peace of mind, exactly. So, it's just being really simple, really focused, having clear priorities. And that formula that I talked about before, I think it just gives us the clarity of focus to really prioritize the right things, I think.
And just thinking about that economy, which you seem to kind of ignore and still do well, but clearly it's been tough, and we've seen lots of listed companies, lots of unlisted businesses really struggle over the last 3-4 years.
Yeah.
We've now got interest rates coming down, a government that's just announced a budget, whether you're positive on it or not. But how are you feeling about the next 12 months for the broader economy?
Yeah, I mean, I think the only way is up.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels to me like we're kind of bouncing along the bottom at the moment, and we need some stimulus. So it's good to see rates coming down. And I think you have to remember that, we're only 9 months into rates being eased, so it is going to take some time. But for us, we operate in a market like used cars are very resilient.
Yeah.
If you kind of think about most New Zealanders can't operate their lives, successfully without having a vehicle. So that used car market does tend to be pretty resilient. So I think we're operating in a good space. We have relatively low market share, even though we're a big player.
Yeah.
So there's still lots of opportunity for us. And I think very positively about the future of this business, and clearly the economy going better. It's just going to go better.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I guess, we can't talk about Turners without talking about Tina.
Yes.
So, is that...
She's on the wall behind there.
It's amazing. I've been taking photos with the cutouts as we were here today, so we're all big fans. But has that I mean, has that campaign just been an overwhelming success? I guess the answer is yes, but did you ever expect it to get this big?
Well, you always hope for it,
Yeah.
but I don't think anyone ever expected it to get the traction that it did. If I go back 4 years, the very first month we launched that campaign in 2021, the media spend, we earned more than the media spend in the cars that we bought and the margin we made. Like, the traction was immediate.
Right.
And there were a lot of things that we did right in that campaign to make it successful. Like, we were very single-minded about the message that we needed to get across, and that was Turners as a place to sell your car, not buy a car. We were always known as a place to buy a car, but never really kind of top of mind for people as a, fast, easy, convenient way to sell a car. So, that's been incredibly successful for us. But she resonated beyond our wildest dreams.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think the other thing that I would say is, that campaign, obviously, when you kind of put those brand messages into the market, you're making a promise, right? You are kind of setting the bar, setting the standard, and the team of people here that work in this business have absolutely kept that promise.
Yeah,
and it would have never been as successful as it has been without the combination of
so got to execute on that promise.
It's that make the promise, keep the promise kind of thing.
It does feel like that idea and that messaging has just been so well delivered around come here to sell your car, not just to buy it. Because that, Turners a decade ago to Turners today, in the minds of consumers, I think is a completely different proposition, isn't it?
It's changed so much. And I've been around this business now for almost 20 years, and I kind of look back at when I first started, this business was all about running auctions and selling things to dealers. And now we are such an end user, customer oriented, consumer oriented business. And you're right. I mean, I think, I was talking about that kind of light bulb moment about 5 years ago, but I think we kind of worked out that actually just about all of our energy needs to go into sourcing.
Yeah.
Because if you buy the right car at the right price, it always gets sold.
Yeah.
So actually we just need to buy more of the right cars at the right price.
And that's kind of worked well from a competitive standpoint too, hasn't it? Because you're not bringing in imports from Japan or anywhere else. You're sourcing locally.
Yeah.
You kind of get your finger on the pulse, don't you, that way?
Well, your stock turn is much faster. You're buying and selling in the same market. You de-risk, kind of price movements. We still import some cars from Japan.
Yeah.
We kind of view that as a tap we can turn on and off.
Right.
But really, all our focus is building that sourcing capability.
Yeah. And you talked about 20 years, long time in the business, and I think maybe now coming up a decade. 2016, you took over as CEO, which is probably about how long we've known each other now. So a fair bit of time. What's the big stuff since you've stepped into those shoes that you've kind of learnt, or what are you doing differently now as the CEO of Turners to what you were doing in 2016?
If I go back to 2016, I probably sweated the small stuff a lot more than I do now.
Yeah.
Largely I'm, helping to get things out of the way of the people in this business. They're very, very good.
Right.
Very talented people. It's just letting them get on and do the job, and they're doing a brilliant job. So, I enjoy what I do. I love the people I work with. I love this company because it's really interesting. We've done a fantastic job of being able to grow it. We get incredible autonomy to do the things that we think need to be done. The board are really supportive.
Yeah.
I think they deserve a huge amount of credit for how this business is operating. They give us the rope to be able to do the things that we think we need to do.
And I want to come to that because I see, again, recently you've been appointed to the board. So you moved from being CEO to managing director.
Yeah.
What sort of change comes with that on a day-to-day, month-to-month basis that, you don't necessarily have as a CEO?
Yeah. Look, I don't think a whole lot, to be honest. The way we try and think about this business is making sure that we're building succession and building continuity. This is a long-term play, right? When none of the people here are here for a short time. We're here for a long time. And so that really changes the way you think about the decisions you make, I think. I think there are a lot of companies that get far too near-term focused and not enough medium and long-term. And the board here in particular I think a lot of companies, they have this kind of straight line where, the board are on one side and the management are on the other.
Yeah.
That is not how this business works. They will dive deep into areas that they either care about or have particular expertise in, which they do.
And many of them have got skin in the game, don't they? Because that's probably, I wouldn't say different to a lot of listed companies, but the magnitude of that skin in the game is probably different, isn't it?
They care about it because it's their money.
Yeah.
So there's a huge degree of alignment. But I think we work so well as a team, and that takes time. It's a thing that develops and trust builds. But, Tina's a great example. We had John Roberts and Grant Baker, both, board members. Grant's our chairman. John ran Saatchi's here in New Zealand for a while. He got his ex-creative director, Kim Thorpe, who lives in the Hawke's Bay now, is retired. We formed this little project team to come up with that. Now, and Sean Wiggins, who runs marketing here, and Greg. So it's a really good example of this kind of collaboration which occurs.
Right.
It's not just a management kind of responsibility.
Sure.
They take that on as much as we do.
Yeah.
And they're kind of welcomed into the business for that reason, because they have skills and expertise to offer.
Yeah. And that target setting, you talked about that sort of medium and long-term target setting. And it's one thing that I've sort of noted and been a real fan of with the Turners business, and you've instilled in the market, is you've come out and set some targets for profitability 2, 3, 4 years out.
Yeah.
You've done great because you've hit them.
Yes.
You've just, I think you've just cracked 50 million of profit this year.
Yeah.
You've already set a target for 65 and
FY28. Yeah.
How does it, because that takes a bit of guts and a bit of confidence, because there's not many listed companies doing that multi-year targets. So where does that come from? Is that just something that inherently the Turners board and business want to do? Or
well, funnily enough, it was Aaron Saunders, our CFO, who, if I go back to 21 when we first set that initial target of I think it was 45 million by FY24.
Right.
He said to me, we need people to focus on the medium term. And I was always a believer in that.
Yeah.
And he said, when we're not communicating effectively the confidence that we have in the future of this business.
Yeah.
And I think we need to put a number on the line.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did.
And because that I think can be a real challenge of being a listed company, can't it?
It is a challenge. Absolutely.
I've got to please everyone over the next 6 months when our next report,
Yeah.
Rather than, hey, we can take some of the short-term pain or uncertainty for the longer-term gain.
I think there's a real tension in that, being in that listed space. I think there is too much focus on the kind of next 12 months and not enough focus on the next 3 years. And that was one of the main reasons we wanted to kind of do that, was to get people focused there and not just on what we're going to do. Where's your guidance for the next 12 months? Well, our guidance is to be here in 3 years. The road, the pathway to that will be bumpy. It may not be a straight line, but we think we can get there. And we've done that target setting now 3 times. We've obviously met the first 2, which is great and gives you a bit of credibility. And all those kind of things. And it's helpful for your own confidence as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that word you used, credible, that's the hard bit, right? Is sort of getting the market to trust you when you put out these targets initially. I'm sure back in 2021, listen, you're sort of thinking, geez.
Well, I remember we put up the $5 share price and you got a fair bit of feedback about that.
Yeah, but I think that goes a long way to building that credibility, doesn't it? Is that here's where management want you to go. And it probably buys you a little bit of time in the short term that, hey, we're on a roadmap rather than everyone just focusing on the next 12 months.
Yeah, and I think the other sort of element is it's not just about setting a target, but it's helping people understand the building blocks from where you are today to getting to that target.
Yeah.
And you don't need to provide all the detail, but you certainly need to kind of provide a pathway that people can go, yeah, I understand that. You do ABC.
Yeah.
I can see how you can get to 6, whatever the number might be. And I think we've done a pretty good job of kind of helping people step their way to those numbers as well.
Yeah. No, I think you've done a great job, and the market's probably rewarding you for that finally, I think, or at least understanding the story, and that's all that really counts. You can only just explain your story and hope people get it, right?
That's exactly right, yeah. And it can be frustrating.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think I've been in some of those frustrating meetings with you. Hey, do a bit of myth busting for me, because the one that always comes up from people is, EVs, isn't that going to change everything for Turner? So just explain to me or to our viewers that, petrol cars today for the majority of what you buy and sell, I imagine. But in future, that will change.
Yes.
Does that make any difference to you at all?
It doesn't, honestly. I mean, the answer I give to people when they ask that question is we're not selling the same cars today as we were 57 years ago.
Yeah.
And this business has been around for that long. And no doubt they'll be different in 10 years and 20 years as well. And whether they're EVs or hydrogen or some combination of things that we don't even know about yet, who knows? But what this business, relies on is people tuning cars. So as long as people are changing cars, this will always be a good business.
And those numbers I always just find it astonishing because it's in the hundreds of thousands, isn't it? The change of sort of ownership of used vehicles in New Zealand for what is a population of, say, 5 million people.
Yeah, so there's 4.5 million cars in New Zealand, kind of registered.
Right.
And roughly 1 to 1.1 million of them are changing hands every year. So, and just to put in context, there's 2% of the fleet at the moment are EVs.
Right.
So even if every new car in the country was an EV, it would take more than 25 years to change out the fleet.
Completely change.
So these are, I think people got pretty excited at the time about, when, EVs are coming and they're coming hard.
Yeah.
And they did initially, but you kind of get through that early adopter phase. And I think we're now into more of a normal kind of run rate.
Yeah.
Hybrids are certainly getting traction in this country. To me, they just seem to be that sort of sweet spot where people feel comfortable. It's not quite at the full battery EV end. It's not at the full ICE end. It's sort of in that sweet spot where I can still go to the petrol station, fill up. I know I'm emitting less. I know I'm kind of, probably paying less for my kilometres driven. And it's, I think hybrids are certainly
nice gateway into it.
Yeah.
And we're sitting here and there's one of every type of car in here. And you've been in the business for 20 years, but are you a car guy? Do you love cars? Is that, or is it just something you happen to sort of deal with?
There are people who love cars way more than me in this business. I wouldn't say I'm a car nut by any stretch. I've certainly, come to, I do love cars, obviously.
Yeah.
I've come to love Formula One. I wasn't really a Formula One fan.
I think all of New Zealand's
love
it, Formula One.
Certainly since we've been involved with Liam, I've become a much more of a motor racing fan.
Yeah, and that's probably something less talked about, isn't it? And obviously through Turners, we had the opportunity to meet Liam and a brilliant guy. But Turners and some of your board members have been supporters of Liam for a very long time. So must be a bit of pride there seeing him doing pretty well.
Pretty cool actually. Like we've been associated with him for 7 years now.
Yeah.
So we first helped him get to Europe to race Formula 4, and to see him track through all the different stages and to some degree complete his dream, which is to be a Formula One driver. I don't think he's completed his dream yet, but to see him performing on the world stage and particularly last weekend, kind of he's had a run of bad luck, and to see finally things start to change is
feels like you can take a breath after that week.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, and we're very proud of the way he conducts himself, and he's a very humble guy, and comes from a very humble family in Pukekohe, and it's been great to be part of the journey.
Yeah, it's a great story. And finally, to finish up, just thinking about cars and that, can you remember your first? What your first car?
Yeah, it was a 74 Escort.
That's a cool car.
It was. Car. Yeah. My parents bought that car. I've got two brothers. They bought it for us as our runaround up in Northland.
Yeah.
So good. It got hammered,
and it didn't find any dings in it from Todd.
Oh no, it found some dings for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Hey, look, this has been great, and a great story over the last decade plus, to be honest. And I think you and the team should be really proud of where Turners is at today. And
thank you very much.
And obviously, you keep hitting those targets that you're setting yourselves, and you keep moving up in size and relevance in our market. And the brand gets bigger and bigger. It's like every town I go to now, I can see a Turners shed, and it always seems to look pretty shiny. So
they look great. Yeah, the blue stands out very well.
No, very good. Yeah. Thanks, Todd, and appreciate your time.
Thanks very much, mate.